Steve, what are you doing? We are live right now in front of a whole bunch of people, and you're eating chips. Now is not the good time for that.
Stephanie, I am so stressed out. Everything's happening. I got the rent due in 2 days. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't eat these.
Is that I can tell you've gotten into those before. That's not the first time.
What? No. Well, what about these? These?
Oh my gosh, those might be worse. Those might.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I mean, what do we eat during these times? What do we do?
Welcome everyone.
Are you laughing at me?
Yes. This is not with you. This is definitely
okay.
laughing at you.
Okay. All right. Maybe we should talk about stress eating or something.
I think that's a really good idea. Welcome everybody to Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. We've got Steve snacking already before we even start the show.
That was my dinner there, Stephanie. You interrupted my dinner, but I know we have this show, and I need to stay away from those things, just like we all need to stay away from those things, right?
Yes. For instance, we see Steve eating chips. Yeah, exactly. Starts the show with eating chips. So we were talking before we got started about how, what people are going to for their coping mechanisms, and food is a big one. We see a lot of people that are going to their comfort foods, or going to more alcohol. They're going to those things that they feel are making them feel better. And that's becoming a real big issue for some people, when people are calling it literally the COVID-15, where people are gaining 15, 20 pounds since this whole pandemic started, because they're home all the time. Have you seen that or heard people talk about that, Steve?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, no doubt. And if you look on social media, most of the jokes, unfortunately, the sarcasm is about weight gain. I would say 75% during this time is because I know the first thing is we're hoarding food, we're hoarding all these things, and then you can't get to the gym, and you can't go out, and you quarantine in. But people are kind of throwing their hands up, which is not a good thing, because they can do the things at home, just like to improve on your relationships. They can eat healthier, and they can, maybe exercise a little bit in the home, walking and doing things like that. But I think sometimes when you deal with stress and anxiety and depression and sadness and frustration, those things go by the wayside, because kind of internally you're not strong enough to handle certain things.
Yeah, now I know for me in particular, when I am very stressed, like very, very stressed, I can't eat at all. And I notice I gauge on where things are for me based on a lot of times what I'm picking at. And so if I'm really stressed, if I suddenly have no appetite, because I really like to eat, I really actually like to eat. If I'm not eating anything at all, there's something up. Like I got to figure out what that is, or like I know what it is. It's something in grief or something really, really big. When I'm feeling stressed out, though, that's where I tend to go for the snacks. That's where I'm like, snacks.
Right.
And probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, we were definitely doing way more snacks. We're like, oh, it's Wednesday, let's have wine. Like, it kind of started to seem that way. And we were starting to head towards that COVID-15 ourselves. And Teresa said she already grew 2 asses, gonna die poor, fat, and happy, eating and shopping online. So people know what's going on. Like, this is definitely what's happening. So those first few weeks, we were just kind of like in vacation mode, like, let's just do whatever. And I was noticing that for the first time in my life, I was starting to get pains in my hands. And what's interesting, my mother has arthritis, and arthritis is an autoimmune disorder. And obviously it causes severe pain and things like that. But I was noticing I was having pain in my left hip. I was having pains in my hands and some pains in my feet. And I started to say, oh my gosh, like I can't be going down the same road as my mom. I've been doing really well for so long. What's going on? Well, the biggest thing that was going on was that I had been unable to get greens, and we'll talk about more in detail from that. But I was eating a lot of junk food. Like, again, it was like, let's have wine and cheese and chips and all of these things. Now, Steve, why do you think so many people are choosing that kind of base comfort as opposed to some of the other things that they could maybe go for? And I know you started talking about it, but why do you think food is one of the big draws for people when they're stressed out?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a natural reaction that we need to eat. So that is a given. So it's a matter of And some of it is your upbringing. Some of it could be your upbringing and what you're used to, your routine of what kind of eating patterns you established when you're younger. And some of it is also cost related, because as you know, some of the foods the bad foods, unhealthy foods, are less expensive. And those are so if you're struggling with health insurance and finances right now, and you have $50 to go food shopping, guess what? You can get 3 bags of chips for $6, or instead of healthy vegetables or fruit, which would be over $20. So finances are a really big thing, I would imagine, right now. But people are counting the pennies because they don't have them. That's one.
Yep. Yeah. So Peter said stress eating and drinking is due to the financial unknown for most people. And that's what it is. People are using it as a coping mechanism. They're using it as a way to deal with stress. Francine said, so glad you guys are doing this show tonight. It will go great with our show on Sunday. Way to go, Steph. Thanks. Yeah. So, I mean, and this is what it is. It is a coping mechanism. It's a way to deal with stress. And so, I have a friend of mine. So I have a background in nutrition. I'm a health educator. I've been teaching health for 17 years. And when I work with clients, we do kind of a reset. So we are looking at the holistic perspective when it comes to healing from unhealthy relationships. And of course, one of the unhealthy relationships that a lot of us have is with food. It is a natural go-to. And like you said, parents, without knowing, because they don't have degrees in nutrition, there's always stuff that I'm constantly learning. And I have actually certifications, and I've taken classes in nutrition. I've got all these certifications. There's always stuff that I'm learning and that the scientists are learning as well. And we're just kind of adding to our repertoire. But I have degrees in this. So people that have no educational background and all they've learned about nutrition is from their family, or they might want to eat better and they can't afford to eat better. You kind of got those two things going on. So like you said, it might be cheaper to buy a bag of chips, but you're probably not going to feel very full from a bag of chips. But it's great for that crunchy, that salty, have something to do, right? That's like, there's that comfort thing of like, ooh, what am I going to do? So, and like, what is your go-to? I was thinking this morning as I was making myself, some bread with avocado and Dijon mustard. I really like it. It's like my go-to morning thing. And I get Ezekiel bread, which has a little bit of a crunch to it. So it's something I look forward to. Thinking like, it's like, for me, it's comforting because I like it. Maybe not for somebody else that might not like that and want an egg, like an egg sandwich. We're in New York, you want egg and cheese sandwich with, sausage. Oh, sausage, egg and cheese.
No, Stephanie, not egg and cheese, bacon, egg and cheese.
There we go. I've been a vegetarian for almost 20
wow.
years. So I forget that part. But yeah, bacon, egg and cheese, or sausage, egg and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. Like that's what we go as Long Islanders. And people are always so afraid of the big bad carb. But the big bad carb is not really as much of the issue as those higher fat foods, because those higher fat foods that come from animal products tend to cause, and they do cause inflammation in our body.
Right.
Inflammation in our body causes everything in our body to actually slow down. And those autoimmune types of issues that people are noticing, the pains in the hands, the feet, having some people, maybe all of a sudden are getting lupus, or they're getting the arthritis, or they're getting thyroid issues or things like that. It's actually the body attacking itself because of the high saturated fat that they are consuming and causing inflammation in their bodies.
Right. And another thing too, like say, especially in Long Island, we have to work 1, 2, 3 jobs to make it work here, to live here. Correct. Right. So if you're like me, my whole life with a strong work ethic, just like most of us, but you're in the field a lot, that field work is very difficult, because if you don't prepare the foods in advance, the proper foods, and take it with you throughout the day, well, guess what? You can be driving down Sunrise Highway or Merrick Road, and you see this, and you're going to go there, and I can get all that for $4, and then all of a sudden, and then keep it moving because you're driving to the next field appointment. So that's a difficult thing, because when people are not home eating healthy, they're eating the junk food, the fast food that is so very difficult, and it's cheaper that way. And that's how they lure you in. That's where the problem comes in.
Well, and what manufacturing, by the way, this is Healthy Relationships with a Curve with Steve Vaccaro and Stephanie McPhail. I'm like in charge today, I'm actually in charge today, which is cool.
Yes.
Steve.
Well, you told me not to say anything for the first 15 minutes, so I'm listening.
I was like, shh, you be quiet, Stephen. You listen to me. But Yeah, I mean the interesting thing is that when it comes to food, like fast food, it's the cheap food, but it actually has a really high expense.
Right.
And it seems cheap on this end, but in the long run, it actually has a higher expense because if you're looking at eating, you're eating the McDonald's. It's getting all the things in your brain that are like, snap, crackle, pop, because you're getting the salt, you're getting the sugar and the fat. Those are all things that in nature are not natural. So your brain is like, ooh, I get all the stuff that I couldn't get in nature. So that primal part of our brain is like, oh, okay, I want more of it. But the thing is, it doesn't actually satiate you because there's no vitamins and minerals in what you're consuming. There really is just fat, salt and sugar. And that means what? A lot of calories.
Right.
So you're not actually feeding your cells. And so, I actually just started with a new group of people in my actually Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb program that I run. And, I always have all of my clients drink green smoothies. And one of the reasons for it is because I want them to press, and I see, some people saying about the reset. That's what I said before. We want you to press the reset button on even your food. And I'm not telling anyone right now to go vegetarian or go vegan or take everything out of their diet, because then you start feeling like a loss, like she's taking away all my favorite things. And, and I understand where that comes from because that is a comfort. That is your coping mechanism. And right now, when we're living in there's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right now, we're like in safety. We're like warm blanket over our heads, like be safe and be okay. Like that's what we're looking for. So food is one of those natural things that we gravitate for. And we go to food that tends to be less healthy. So what I ask all my clients to do is to, at the very least, incorporate green smoothies. The green smoothies that I make, you're not buying these from the store. You're buying the ingredients from the store. That's it. If you're getting a pitcher, whatever, that doesn't fit in the screen, but a full pitcher. I have a Vitamix, but you can use a NutriBullet or whatever type of pitcher that you have, like a blender. And you fill that up, 3/4 of it, whatever the size is, 3/4 should be spinach. You can do kale, you can do collards, you can do other things. I like spinach. It's the least bitter. It's got a little less flavor when it's like the baby spinach. So about 3/4 of that spinach, and then 1/4 of that fruit of choice. My favorites to put in, write it down. My favorites to put in are banana, frozen mango, and frozen pineapple. Now, if those fruit, you're like, don't like those, pick the fruit that you like. But those three tend to be the sweetest. They're highest in natural sugar. So it kind of covers the spinach taste. And then you're also going to add some raw flax or raw chia. The raw chia is good, but it makes it a little bit more congealed. So it's a bit more like pudding if you put too much in there. So you got to be careful with that, playing around with that. I've been using a lot more raw flax lately. And again, it's got to be whole raw flax, not pre-milled, not pre-cut up. And you want to add that to your green smoothie, fill it up with water. You're not adding yogurt. You're not adding peanut butter because peanut butter is high omega-6s, which we're already getting too much of. But the omega-3s in the raw chia and flax actually lowers inflammation. It does all those good, healthy things. And you're getting all the micronutrients from the greens and, of course, from the flax. Fruit is just there to taste. It's to make it taste good. That's why you're having that combination, that exact combination. What's interesting is that for people that do that, again, not telling you to change anything else in your diet, but if you add that to your diet, you can do as many of those as you want per day. And I'm going to be honest, since you're home already, that's good because if you're doing a whole bunch of them, you might be cleaning out some system things that you didn't know needed to be cleaned out. All right. So not to go into too much detail, but in the beginning of that, when your body's like, whoa, let's get everything out of your body, it'll be good to be home. 96 ounces of water.
I was gonna say, where's the water come in? Because one of my biggest problems is, what do I drink? Is it just straight water all day? That's it, nothing else.
It's recommended even by the American Dietary Association that one non-water drink per day is what is allowed. Now, when you're drinking drinks that have sugar in them, it's like drinking liquid fat. The way there's no fiber in them. So, people say, they're like, well, I've heard about, drinking my greens and things like that, but I do juicing. I'm not against juicing. However, the problem with juicing is that you have no fiber. And unless you're getting cold pressed flax oil, which you can get, you're not getting the omega-3s. So we really want the higher the fiber to clean out your system as well. You have to imagine it's kind of like little bristles cleaning out all the insides that you know of your body getting out all that bad stuff. And so a side effect that my clients tend to find is they tend to all of a sudden notice, like I had someone that was pre-diabetic. After 1 week, it went away. And, I had someone else more than a few people where they were like, how come I'm losing weight? And I said, well, because you're also exercising. And when you're combining the exercise with that hyper-nourishment of the green smoothies, your metabolism actually speeds up. So even if you're not eating perfectly all the time, if you're at least getting the micronutrients into your body, then you're able to, your whole body is working better, which means you'll think more clearly. You'll have elevated mood because you're getting the endorphins from the exercise and you're getting all the micronutrients in your brain. So for those of you who are having trouble, you're stress eating, you're doing that stuff, I get it. If you can add those green smoothies, get that water in, not the sodas, not juice, not any of those things, but your 96 ounces of water in, clearing everything out. And when you go to eat those other things, those comfort foods that you want to eat, for some of you might be like, I suddenly don't want these as much anymore. It suddenly starts to take away those sugar cravings. And I saw someone earlier said something about sugar cravings. The green smoothies, I used to like sugar way more. And now I'm a little bit more of the salty fan if I'm going to go for snack. But the green smoothies definitely changed even what I went as like my go-to snack. So if you start to feel hungry, you drink one of those green smoothies, you're doing something good for yourself, you're satiated, so that even if you do eat the unhealthy food of choice, you're not going to eat quite as much of it because your stomach, that can only fit so much food, gets filled up with the liquid. So when you eat the unhealthy stuff, there's a lot less room for it inside of you. So you feel full more quickly, you get more satiated, you're getting more nutrients in your body.
This is Kick on Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 7:30. And I'm actually getting schooled right now. So, Stephanie, you're doing a great job because, people think, well, I'll eat out or drive through or now curbside food. And I don't put salt on my food. I don't put sugar on my food. But guess what? They do. And they do lots of it, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's in there. Even stuff that's frozen, for example. Like if you go to the dollar store and, there are people that's where they have to go and get their food. And I get that. So you go to the dollar store, you go to the frozen food section, and for $1, you can get a pre-made pot pie, for example. Something like that has 2 to 3 times the sodium already inside of it, just for the fact it's frozen and they're looking for long-term shelf life. Whenever you see something that doesn't have a label, like a fruit or a vegetable, and if you left it on your counter for 2 or 3 days and it would start to go bad, that's healthy food. If you can put it on your counter for 3 weeks and it looks exactly the same, that is not healthy food. like the great example that you had at the beginning of those, it's like Doritos. When I was a kid, I remember we had one of our neighbors worked for Oots or whatever, however you pronounce it, one of the packages that you showed. He worked for them. And we were kids, and whenever things were starting to be expired, he'd be like, take these free bags of chips. And we'd be like, yay, like we paid out. And you could go probably even 6 months after that date and it still tasted fine. Well, that's a sign of them putting a lot of salt and a lot of weird things in there to make it not rot. If you take a McDonald's hamburger and French fries and you leave it out, there's someone actually, if you go online and look this up, because I'm not making this up, go online. There is someone who has kept the same burger and French fries. I'm pretty sure it's a cheeseburger, but it could be just a burger. They kept it. One of them kept it it was about 15 years. It might have actually just broken apart, but it looked the same. It looked a little harder, a little dehydrated, but it didn't mold. It didn't rot. None of those happened. Food should rot.
Stephanie, that was me. That was me.
But I don't need it. I just keep it for educational purposes.
That's right. But let's switch gears a little bit. But what if somebody really wants to change their pattern after what you all schooled us and what we need to do? Most of us need to do. Maybe the first thing is to kind of keep a food diary, right? When you're eating, why you're eating, how much you're eating, and when you're actually eating it, and what foods are, because that'll help you visually see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I recommend that more for people who are noticing migraines or they're noticing some kind of reaction. They can't figure out what that is. That's not a bad idea, but a lot of people cheat. When they see when they have to write stuff down, they automatically eat less because they don't want to see it. They're like, Like they would normally eat a whole bag of M&Ms, but because now they're keeping a food log, they'll eat four and be like, oh, I'm gonna have to write down the whole bag. Oh no, I just ate four. I ate four of them, and that's what they write down. So automatically, you're not eating the same way just from keeping the log. The better thing that I mean, really, really strongly is instead of taking away what you're used to, because that's where people fail. They're like, well, I'm on a diet, so I can't eat anything that I like. Well, that sucks. And that's not going to keep you following that diet. A diet actually literally means what you consume. That's what a diet is. So when people say they're on a diet, that actually makes no sense. You're on a healthy eating diet. I am eating a more vegetable-based diet, but I'm not just on a diet. Like, and again, we use that as like, it's like a quicker way of saying that, but that's, people think diet. So we want to do change, and change is a lot easier when you add in instead of take away. So you're not feeling like loss. We're already having a lot of loss here. I was saying to you, Steve, right before the show, I have a friend of mine, he lost his like not wife because they weren't officially, but like they've been together for like 9 years. She just passed away. She's 37 years old. We don't know if it was depression or overdose. We think she was taking some medications. We don't know exactly what happened, but she passed away. She's 37. She has a 6-year-old son. And so if you looked at her Facebook, there was a lot of signs of depression. And so, the loss that people are having from people actually, directly related to COVID, indirectly related to COVID, the loss of their job, being afraid about paying their bills, all those kinds of things. And now you're going to tell me I can't have my Snickers bar and my potato chips? Like, screw you. I'm going to go and eat what I want. So I'm not taking anything away from you. I'm saying if you want to have your Snickers bar right now, go for it. But what I'm asking you to do is at the very least, add in as much as you possibly can, as often as you can, of those green smoothies. And you will notice without thinking about it, other parts of your diet will start to change without you feeling like you're having more loss. So it's going to add that in and make you feel better. And again, having that water, making sure that you're clearing yourself out. It is, you go to your faucet, we have my husband has this like fancy water filtration system. We don't really need all of that stuff. You want your Brita, you've got a little filter on your refrigerator, fine, drink your water. Even, Long Island has the highest rates of breast cancer in the world. I think it's like 1 in 7 now, like it's gotten high. Well, if you are having your green smoothies every day, you're actually preventing a lot of illnesses that a lot of people get sick from: heart disease, stroke, diabetes, different types of cancers, all of that stuff because of the high nutrients and the high vitamins that are in there. So, again, it's about adding it in, not taking it away.
Can you add anything to the water? I'm not saying Kool-Aid mix, but I'm saying maybe anything light, or totally no.
See, I can hear your loss, Steve. You're like, staking away. I love it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Help me, Stephanie. Help me.
Yeah, the crystal lights, those artificial sugars, it actually reacts very much the same to your body. Yeah, we do not want those. We want to stay away from those. I had someone who said, Stephanie, I'm getting a lot of migraines. I don't know what it is. And so same kind of thing. We did a food log. We looked at what was going on. She was drinking 3 to 5 Diet Cokes per day. 3 to 5. So now a lot of times people will say, well, they've done research on artificial sweeteners and they're really not that bad. They'd have to drink a whole bunch of it, over time for there to be really an issue. 3 to 5 diet sodas every day is an issue. And if you're doing that every day and you're not drinking your water, then you're going to notice some really bad side effects. And just as I say to my high school students, when you urinate, it should be clear. There should be just a little tinge of yellow. That's really what it should be. That's urea. That's poison in your body. So if you're peeing out something that looks almost brown, you're dehydrated, which means your body is not functioning as well, which means your brain is not functioning as well, which means you're going to be more sad, more, you're going to be more irritable, all of those things. So you want to make sure you're getting the water light yellow for your pee.
So that's a good barometer for all of us to, because we're all in that bathroom each and every day. So that's a good way to check it out. This is Kicking Healthy Relationships to the Curb. That's Stephanie McPhail. I'm Steve Vaccaro. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 7:30. I know we got a little more time left, but any more comments from folks out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good things. Teresa said fresh lemon or lime. Yeah, those are good. You can do like some oranges or fruit in your water. That works out great. I mean, I just like plain water. I don't like adding other things. Sometimes a little lemon in there, like when it's really ice cold, can taste really good. Stevia, there's still kind of, it's out. The jury is out a little bit on there. Better than some of the other artificial sweeteners. But again, if you cannot have any of those fake things, like you got to remember as natural as possible, back to nature. If your great grandmother can look at it and be like, "Ooh, I know what that is," it's probably healthy. If your grandma's like, "Oh, let me read the label," like just imagine great grandma, what would she be looking at that little stevia container or some of the weird chips or whatever that we have nowadays, frozen foods that we have nowadays. If great grandma has no idea what that is, it's probably not healthy. We want to look at stuff that wasn't born with a label, where they have to pop a label on there to sell it because of, they sell it, or put it in a bag that has a barcode on it. Okay, well, that's going to be better. But natural, we're going to go with natural. If you're looking at things for like the highest inflammation, and this is really interesting, one of the highest things that causes inflammation in the body, and therefore whatever disease that is common in your family. So if you have my family, I started off by saying, rheumatoid arthritis is an issue for my mom. Other issues, but that was the big one, right? So, arthritis. My dad's side of the family, everyone dies from heart disease. They get heart attacks, they get cancer. That's my dad's side. My mom, cancer too. But, it's arthritis is the pain before all that other stuff comes in. So, if you have all of whatever those diseases are in your family, then you're going to look at dairy being like the number one worst thing for inflammation that causes these diseases. Then you're looking at processed foods. Then you're looking at red meat. Then you're looking at, I want to say it's chicken next. Then after chicken, it would be the seafood. Then after seafood, it's the eggs. And so it's different layers of where it is in the inflammation of your body. So if you're eating all these high inflammation foods, the anti-inflammatory foods are that much more important. And those are from your omega-3s, which are in your raw chia and your raw flax. The omega-3s in the fish are not the same as the omega-3s that are plant-based. They really help diminish the inflammation in you.
Okay, we only have a little bit of time left. So I'm going to say one food, salmon.
I'll go more like this. It's better than having a burger for sure. But what would be better than that would be like tofu, beans. And we talked earlier, and Sharon was a client of mine. She said the green smoothies work, drinking water. Her pains went away, and she lost 42 pounds.
Wow.
And her and I worked together. And it was a side effect. That wasn't her goal, but it was a side effect of it. Rice and beans, really cheap. You'll be musical, but it's cheap and it's going to be super healthy. People were like, oh, but that's higher in, carbohydrates. Yes, but you're getting the 9, all the amino acids that you need. You're getting higher protein. And then you throw some vegetables in there. Do rice and beans with some vegetables on the side. Bam, you can make a really cheap meal, and it's going to be super healthy also.
As the economy comes back and everybody's going to be working and running around, what healthy snacks should people be carrying with them and taking them throughout the day?
Pre-make whatever you can. If I'm running around during the day, I'll pre-make things. So I'll bring my green smoothies and I'll put them in a cooler bag and I'll bring those with me. We always quickness trumps everything else. So on Sundays, a lot of times, if I'm running around all week, I will pre-make meals throughout the week so I can just bring them with me. I'll bring my salad, or I will pre-make a vegan lasagna, or I'll do healthy thing is actually stir fry. You can make a stir fry. You can make things like that. Stuff you just throw in the microwave. You get hungry, you throw in the microwave. You have those. Popcorn, depending on how you make it. If you're making it with olive oil, not so bad. That would be a better choice than the potato chips. And of course, it cleans you out too, because there's the fiber in there. Go for your celery sticks and peanut butter. Those aren't apples. Yeah, I love apples. Those are great. Because you can put those in your bag and bring those whenever you want. Fast food is actually our fruit. Fruit was the original fast food because you can easily put it in your bag. And, you just eat it when you're ready to go. And apples are great because they actually, when you start to get that tired feeling as the day goes on, eat an apple, it actually perks you up even more than a cup of coffee. And of course, no dehydration from the caffeine.
And an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
As they say, that's what I hear too.
I learned that one. But Stephanie, this has been a great show, and I think if you can eat healthier, that's going to influence your thinking and to help you with the relationships a healthy way, and to maybe diminish the ones that are unhealthy. Correct?
Yep. Yeah. And again, look at your relationship with food. If you have been using that your whole life as a way to deal with your stress, or a way as a comfort to, or sometimes people will say to me, I've used it as a way to protect myself from other people. So it's literally a barrier, having the extra weight as a barrier against other people, or they're eating their emotions instead of talking about what's going on for them. They're eating instead, and they're suppressing. So think about what food is for you, and think about it. Like after this show, think about when I think about food, what is it about it? Like it brings me joy. It's the only, because I've had people that are like, it's the only thing that brings me happiness in my life. Well, if that's the only thing that brings you happiness, you've got to start figuring out what's going on with your life, because you should have other things that bring happiness.
Right. And real quick, because we're always in overtime, but some people think that, okay, if I don't have breakfast, if I don't have lunch, that's one less meal, and then I could eat more or eat the same amount, and then I'm ahead of the game.
No, there's been a lot of studies that say people that don't eat breakfast actually weigh more. One that literally all he started doing was eating breakfast. It was just a little something. He lost 15 pounds, did nothing different.
Wow.
It's interesting. It really shows over and over again, because you're breaking the fast. Your body is in slow metabolism mode because it hasn't eaten so long. So it's trying to literally hold on to every calorie that it gets. So it slows everything down. So by the time you get to lunch, you're going to overeat, and you're going to eat whatever you can because you're so hungry. So, if you're having, I'd rather you even have you have your little toast or whatever it is, you have your oatmeal, whatever it is, preferably not like Quakers, like the steel oats type of oatmeal it doesn't cook quite as fast, but better fiber. But you do that in the morning, have a snack, have your green smoothie for like that snack, have your lunch, whatever you want your lunch to be, a sandwich or whatever you want, have another green smoothie in the afternoon. I like when like 3 when I get that lull, and then have your dinner, whatever that is. Like I just had pasta and sauce, and we made a little like vegetables, like whatever, little vegetable things we put in the sauce. And so that it had some like really good flavor. You can put portobello in there, which is really good. But you really want to make sure. And, in a bagel, when you're eating things, Teresa said, back away from the bagels. I'm not anti-bagel. I really am not. If you want a bagel, then have the bagel, but you got to make sure you're also having your green smoothies. If you're eating 10 bagels a day and you're having 0 smoothies, then yeah, you're going to be major, major issues. But one bagel once a week, twice a week is not going to be the end of the world. It's the bagel with the sausage, egg, cheese, tomato, ketchup, and all that other stuff.
And has this little trick. You could take out the bread in the bagel, right? That would help a little bit.
Yeah, people like to do that. But again, you're like, I'm not really anti-carb. Carbs have gotten a little bit, your brain functions because carbs are being used to fuel your brain. So when people say they're on a no carb diet, I always kind of laugh because I know that means they don't know what they're talking about. You must have carbohydrates to survive. When people say they're going through ketosis, which is what a lot of people do when they're doing like the Atkins or the caveman diet or the whatever the famous all protein diet is, when you're going through ketosis, that's actually your kidneys working in overtime to break down the proteins to create carbohydrates for your brain to function. So you'll find that a lot of people that are using those type of diets are very cranky because their brain is not getting the carbohydrates, which causes their mood to get lower and they get less fun to be around.
Okay, so I'm Italian. So this is our last question here. I got to stick up for all the Italian people out there. So can I still have Prince Spaghetti Day and Pasta Sunday?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Go for it. Go for it. That's not going to be the end of the world. Again, have those green smoothies, have your pasta, eat your vegetables. When your mom said to you, eat your vegetables, she didn't know how right she was. Having that, working with high school kids and kids that are like, I haven't seen a vegetable in a week. That's that we're actually finding children that have signs of plaque in their arteries and they're 12.
Wow.
That is reason to be scared for the epidemic that's going to go on later on. And so we're seeing what we used to call adult onset diabetes now is just called type 2 diabetes because children that are young are getting it because they're eating so badly. Let's start changing that whole narrative, and let's start feeding our kids. I mean, my 2 children have been drinking green smoothies since they were 4 months old. They love them. They look forward to them. They know. And I say to them, like, this is more important than anything else. I don't care if like my son, his favorite thing to do is eat pasta. He'd fit right in with you and your family. Pasta, he could eat pasta every single day. And I will not fight with him. If he is having his green smoothie, then fine, have your pasta. And I said to him, if you're not having your green smoothie, then we're going to have to pick something else. We'll do quinoa. We'll do a vegetable stir fry, something like that. He fights me on that. He would rather have some of the pasta and have as much green smoothie as he wants.
Okay, Stephanie, this is serious now. I want you to write down all the things I need for this green smoothie thing. I'm going to start tomorrow. I need to get a blender. I need a blender.
A blender. I recommend Vitamix, but that's because, I mean, and I've had my Vitamix for 10 years. It's actually the one thing that I fought with my ex-husband to keep. I was like, I must have my Vitamix. I use it every single day. It's expensive, but you can get a NutriBullet. You can get something like that. That works as well.
Bed Bath & Beyond, maybe?
Yep, you can get you can get that. I sold one for Bed Bath & Beyond once. I was standing there in an aisle. Someone said, what blender should I get? I was like, this one. And so you can get a NutriBullet from pretty much anywhere. Bed Bath & Beyond sells it. You're going to have to blend it for a little while because there'll still be a little bit of clumps. And again, if you're using a NutriBullet, you might want to use flax oil because that way you're not getting the clump, especially if you're someone that has like diverticulitis or if you've had any type of issues with inflammation in your small intestine or large intestine. You want to be careful of those. They're the seeds. You want to make sure that you're getting the oil instead until the inflammation goes down in your body.
Stephanie, we're way out of time, but
yes,
please, we still have a healthy relationship, right? We're still good.
Yes. Well, even better because now you're getting some great information that you can use. So next time, on Chips, when we're starting our interview, and you will be actually, having your green smoothie and hang.
I'm going to do that on Friday, and garbage pickup is tomorrow, so I'm going to get rid of the Doritos and chips. What do you think?
Good, I love it. And Gina said the Ninja is great. Francie said, "Yahoo Steve, or Yoo-hoo Steve getting wanting the Ninja." Oh yeah, Teresa said a divorce lawyer. Yeah, if you're nasty, you can ask each other. Divorce lawyers might be in your future. And Francine said thoughts on Ninja. Yeah, so I think we answered that. So
well, that's great. We're way over time here. So Stephanie, I wasn't even needed here today. I was like your prop here today. So this is good. This is good. But this is Kicking Healthy Relationships to the Curb. It's another edition of our show. We'll be here on Friday from 7 to 7:30, and we will let you know what we'll be talking about. And thank you for all the viewers and taking the time to make postings and your comments and feedback. That's what we thrive off of. So, Steph, thanks so much.
You're welcome. We'll see you all on Friday at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Bye-bye.